Assalamualaikum and evenings to the audience. My name is Farid from the I2A, and in this channel night, me and my friend will present to you about descriptive statistical analysis that we have done together. This report is about descriptive statistical analysis done for the business statistics course Qmt2043. The main purpose of the analysis is to organize and summarize data so we can understand it better and make sense of the information given. The dataset focuses on student digital usage behavior. It includes both qualitative and quantitative data. By analyzing this dataset, we can see patterns, trends, differences, and how students use digital devices and platforms. In this report, several descriptive statistical methods are used. These include frequency distribution table, graph, measure of central tendency like mean, median, and mods, measure of depression such as range, standard deviation, and skewness. Microsoft Excel is used to process and present all the data. Overall, this report shows how descriptive statistics can be applied in real situations and how they help us understand data more clearly. And now, moving on to the objectives of this report is first to organize and present both qualitative and quantitative data using suitable frequency distribution tables. Second, to present the data clearly using appropriate graph. And third, to calculate measures of central tendency, which are the mean, median, and mode. Fourth, to measure how spread out the data is using range, quartiles, standard deviation, or coefficient of variation. And fifth, to analyze the shape of the data distribution using Pearson measure of skewness. And lastly, to interpret the result to gain a better understanding of student digital usage behavior. So, for the next part, I'll explain our two qualitative, which is gender and type of program. So as for gender, there's 37 of females and 54 of males that conclude a grand total of 91 peoples in it. And here's the chart. And for the program, there's three programs there is, which is Diploma in Business, which is DBS, Diploma in Accounting, which is DIA, and Diploma in Logistic Management, DLM. A grand total of 91 peoples, and there's 32 people for DBS, 30 people for DIA, and 29 people for DLM. And here the graphic for it. Alright, bear with me because my friend Fayyadh will explain the next part real quick. Thank you.
Let's move on to the quantitative data. This data represents the daily digital spending of 91 students. The mean shows that on average, students spend around 7.08 cents per day on digital expenses. The median shows that 50% of the students have daily digital spending of less than 6.75 cents, while the remaining 50% spends more than 6.75 cents per day on digital transactions. The mode shows that the most common daily digital spending among students is 5.24 cents, meaning the majority of students spend around this amount on digital transaction. The first quartile shows that out of 91 students, 25% have daily digital spending of less than 4.94 cents, while the remaining 75% spend more than 4.94 cents per day. The third quartile shows that 75% of students have daily digital spending of less than 11 ringgit 4 cents, while the remaining 25% spend more than 11 ringgit 4 cents per day. Overall, since the mean is higher than the median and the mode, the distribution of daily digital spending is positively skewed. That a small number of students have much higher spending compared to the majority. Yo, what's that?
Next, I will explain the measure of depression for student daily digital transaction, which help us understand how spread out the spending amount are. First, the range is calculated by subtracting the lowest value from the highest value. In this data set, the highest daily digital transaction is 12 ringgit and the lowest is Rm 1 ringgit. So, the range is 11 ringgit. This shows that there is a noticeable difference between the minimum and maximum amount spent by student in a day. Next, The standard deviation is RM3.22, which indicates how far the transaction values are scattered from the mean. This means that on average, student daily digital transaction amount differ from the mean by about RM3.22, showing a moderate level of variation in spending habit. Lastly, the variance is RM10.37, which further support that the data value are spread around the mean rather than being exactly the same. A higher variance suggests greater variability in student daily digital transaction. Next, I will explain the coefficient of variation, which is used to measure the relative variability of student daily digital transaction compared to the mean. The coefficient of variation is calculated using the formula standard deviation. For our group, the standard deviation is RM3.22 and the mean is RM7.08. This means that the daily digital transaction amount in our group vary by 45.48% relative to the average spending. When we compare our group with Adam group, which has a coefficient of variation of 49.15%, we can see that our group COV is lower. A lower coefficient of variation indicates that the data is more stable and more consistent. Therefore, our group daily digital transaction data is more consistent and less variable compared to Adam group.
Based on the Pearson coefficient of skewness, the value of positive 0.31 indicates that the distribution of students' daily digital transaction is slightly positive skewed. This suggests that most students record low to moderate levels of daily digital transaction, while a smaller proportion of students exhibit higher spending levels, causing the mean to be slightly higher than the median. We interpret this as evidence of some variation in digital spending behavior among students, although the skewness is not extreme. To improve our understanding of students' digital behavior, we recommend conducting qualitative surveys in addition to quantitative data analysis. While quantitative data provide numerical trends and overall pattern, they are limited in explaining the motivation and decision-making process behind student digital spending behaviors. Through qualitative approach such as interviews, focus group discussion, and open-ended service question, we can gain deeper insight into students differ in their digital spending habits. That's all for our presentation. I hope you enjoy and consume our information that we just shared. Thank you, Madam Muslinda, for assisting us for our group assignment and our presentation. Bye. Assalamualaikum.